Hello, welcome in everybody. Okay, today I have a little bit of a treat for you. I'm going to talk about the Stanford Prison Experiment. So, this should be a little bit of weird. Yes. Okay, the first thing that I'm going to talk about, I don't know if I'll get through with all this tonight, but let me get to my notes. Yes, I did research. Okay, Philip Zimbardo. He was a Stanford psychologist, and he did the Stanford Prison Experiment in 1971. And what he did was he did psychological tests on students who he offered to pay a daily wage to, who were looking for summertime jobs, is basically what it was. He quarantined off this place, and unless they had an absolute perfectly good reason to leave, it had to be really good in order for them to leave. They couldn't leave. And what he did was that after he'd done the psychological test, he picked the ones that, of course, passed the psychological evaluation, and he hacked them in two, flipped a coin, and said, "You're going to be prisoners, and you're going to be guards." I did watch this docuseries on Disney, on National Geographic, and they did have some of the people on there that came out and talked about it and about the story, how it went with it. And I I just don't know how well I agree with all this. It's just, I mean, in the 70s, everything was a whole lot different than it is now. But to me, it's more of like a moral, like a have to the have nots. Like, if it's more like, if you're given power, what will you do with it? That's usually what it means to me. But not everybody will have the same thing. Do your own research. I probably missed a lot. His name was Philip Zimbardo. He was a Stanford psychology professor who studied how social situations affected people's behavior. He also wrote Lucifer's Effect in 2007. The Paradox in 2008. And Shyness, What Is It? What to Do About It in 1977. So he was an accomplished author after the Stanford experiment. So he went on to do other things other than just this. But now let's get on into what he did in this. Let's see. It says a study examined how many people adopt to be in a perilous situation. Imagine being in a prison where you're perilous. You have to do everything someone else tells you to. I mean, it's almost like you can't pee without someone else telling you to. Eat without someone else telling you when it's time to eat. I mean, you are taking away all you're taking away everything basically. And what they did is they wanted these students to experience this. They wanted to see how well they would do with this. Of course, it says they were of course randomly mock prison, but now I seen on the actual docuseries that I watched, they actually went and arrested these people in cop cars. So they made it look like that they were actually being arrested. I was like, no. No, you're not going to make it look like I was arrested. That would be really bad. They didn't have time to explain to anybody what was going on or anything. So yeah, it looked like they were really arrested. Um, I just don't know about that. Mm-mm. It says the experiment was terminated though after 6 days due to extreme reactions of the participants. The guards became cruel and sadistic towards the prisoners, while the prisoners became depressed and hopeless. I seen on there where the prisoners were refusing to eat even. I mean, the guards would beat them. I mean, it got really bad. And the critics said it was unscientific and fraudulent. I don't see how it could be unscientific because, I mean, if you're put in that situation and everything, it's like I said, it's the haves and the have nots. It's what level would you go to if you had the power to do whatever you wanted to? Hmm. I know I wouldn't go to a certain power, but I mean, some people, they would go further. Zimbargo, this was going to be his legacy. He was going to actually have this put on his gravestone. I mean, this is his one and only thing that, I mean, he was a psychologist. Of course, a psychologist wants to be remembered from something. I mean, I took a psychology course in I mean, not in high school, but in college. And to be honest with you, I never wanted to be remembered for anything. And I mean, trying to remember everything was just, it really got rough. But anyway, it says on here, it was aimed to investigate how people conform to roles of authority and subordination in a simulated prison environment. College students were randomly assigned, well, we've already done that. Key points, it says guards quickly adopted authoritarian behaviors, enforcing strict rules and engaging in psychological abuse. Prisoners became passive, depressed, submissive, experiencing emotional breakdowns. The experiment, intended to last 2 weeks, was terminated only after 6 days. 6 days. And this was due to ethical concerns and the extreme reaction to participants. It says the study highlighted the powerful situation factors in shaping behavior and raised significant ethical questions about the treatment of participants in psychological research. I would have been out of there after one if guards were treating really people like that. I mean, I've seen some film footage. I may show y'all some. If you really want to find it, like I said, it's on Disney Plus. It's called the Stanford Experiment, the Stanford Prison Experiment. It says, hold on, hold on 1 second, please. Okay, day one. Okay, here we go. I forgot about this. Day one, set up and arrest. This is what I was telling y'all about. I wrote notes. It says participants were randomly assigned roles of guards and prisoners. Prisoners were arrested from their homes by real police, booked, and taken to mock prison at Stanford. It says they were stripped, deloused, given uniforms with ID numbers. They had ID numbers on their back, fostering a sense of depersonalization, everything taken away from them. Says guards were given uniforms, mirrored sunglasses, and batons, symbolizing authority. So, I mean, it was, I mean, right then and there, you could tell that you were just a number. You were nothing. You were a number. That was it. So just imagine, how would it feel to be just a number? On day 2 was the prisoner rebellion. Prisoners organized a rebellion, removing their numbers and throwing them on the ground, barricading themselves in their cells. And the guards retaliated with psychological tactics using fire extinguishers and isolating the leaders in solitary confinement. So I don't really imagine that helped. They took their leaders and put those in isolation confinements, which made it worse. They were away from everybody else. So they were really being I mean, they were really going to be I mean, can you imagine being in a room by yourself? At least you did have other people to talk to. So I couldn't imagine being in a room by myself and I'm the only person there. Day 3 and 4, escalated abuse. Guards increased punishment, including sleep deprivation. Oh, that's a no-no. No, and no, I don't think so. Forcing prisoners to do physical exercise and restricting bathroom access. Man, if I've got to go, I've got to go. That these are very sadistic. These are very sadistic ways. Day 5, psychological deterioration. The guards' behavior became more sadistic. Prisoners were humiliated through degrading tasks like cleaning toilets with bare hands. Ah, no. Well, at least they didn't have to clean it with their toothbrushes. I can wash my hands, but I can never get that off of no. Mm-mm. It says some prisoners exhibited signs of learned helplessness, passively accepting the abuse. Day 6, ethical intervention and termination. Psychological Christian Maslek, visiting the site, expressed shock at the treatment of prisoners. Her objection led Zimbardo to end the experiment early after just 6 days. 6 days now, instead of the planned 2 weeks. There's no way that would have lasted 2 weeks. No way. The reason I say is because to me, it was still the haves and the have nots. They were stripped of everything they had. The prisoners were everything. You've got to imagine being, okay, these people, the college students, more likely, I'm not going to say all of them. I hate to say it that way. The college students, I'm going to say that they were used to going out and partying and drinking. Not all of them, but they were used to doing what they wanted to, not being told what to do. They just got out of the house, and they were just getting into their own selves. And then they do this experiment where everything was taken away from them. It says that the experiment the experiment demonstrated how quickly people conform to social roles, with situational power leading to extreme behavior. It raised significant ethical concerns, sparking debates about the responsibilities of researchers in safeguarding participants. The findings in the experiment, power situation for the, uh, the experiment demonstrated how ordinary people could exchange in abusive behavior when placed in positions of authority, highlighting the behavior and heavily influenced by context rather than personality alone. Conformity to roles is number two. Participating quickly conformed to their assigned roles as guards or prisoners, often acting in ways they conflicted with their personal values. Hmm. They showed how social roles and expectations can dictate behaviors. So, in other words, if somebody expects you to act that way, you're going to act that way. Yeah. Dehumanization and loss of identity. Prisoners were stripped of their, of course, stripped of their identity. Everything was taken away. And of course, the others were handed and adopted authoritative behavior, so they automatically took to that. Number four was ethical consideration in research. The extreme psychological stress experienced in participants exposed the ethical flaws in the experiment design. I think it was all unethical. I really do. There was emotional breakdowns, distress, everything that you could ever want in a psychological experiment. This was an awful experiment. There was more moral conflict and guilt after the experiment. Some guards expressed shock and guilt about their own behavior, struggled to reconcile their actions with their personal values. Others rationalized actions by claiming they were simply following instructions and playing a role. Some long-term factors were in this. Some participants required counseling after this to process what happened, the trauma, the guilt, self-reflection, personal growth. Several participants reported that the experiment prompted deep self-reflection about their capacity for cruelty. I mean, this could really hurt somebody's mental capacity. I mean, I just don't see how in the world they let them get away with this. I mean, of course, I just I don't know. They had moral conflict and guilt. After the experiment, some guards expressed shock, guilt about their own behavior. It says the Stanford prison experiment conducted in 1971 by the psychologist Philip Zimbardo. Of course, we all know what he aimed for, and it was all supposed to be a simple experiment, but it turned out to be a moral disaster. And sometimes, if we think in our lives, we think our lives are a moral disaster, but if we sit back and we reflect, maybe sometimes our life isn't so bad. But anyway, thank you for listening. This is Whispers in the Shadow. You have a great day.